Hello.
Hi.
I'm just gonna stick this in front of you.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Hi Andy, I'm Mike, by the way. So the show tagline says that this is a coming-of-age story disguised as a fast-paced mystery about disappointment.
Yes.
Can you just explain to us what that means?
I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Yeah, that's a. So, in a very just like in a literal sense, The Disappointment of Time is a book that is in the show, and one of the first two quotes of the show opens up with, it's from that book, but also it's like the through line of the whole show, and I think that if you were to ask anybody what is the disappointment of time, and I think you get a different answer at various ages in your life, and you probably give a different answer at various ages. And I have what I feel like it is to me why time is disappointing at 36. But I think that answer would have been different if I was 20 or 25 or 30. And I think that throughout the whole show, I think each kind of story and character is almost like a different one of those answers, perhaps. And that's very vague, but probably very pretentious sounding too. But I don't mean it to be pretentious. It's also just a really goofy show too, that as well.
So, are you a fan of murder mysteries? Were you previous?
I think I have I'm attracted to a good mystery for sure, but I never written one before like this. But a lot of it was I found when I first started writing this version of kind of what it became. It was in 2017, 2018. A lot of true crime podcasts out there, and I started feeling a little strange I understand that there's an entertainment factor to them, but also there's an exploitative factor to them too, and it's so some of this initially started as trying to grapple with that, those kind of conflicting emotions around an obsession with our nation's obsession with true crime. But then it kind of just drifted away from that and became really this story about the beginning of one love story and the end of another love story. So.
When you were mapping out the show then with the mystery and the comedy, was there always an expectation for what the ending was going to be? Did it change as you were progressing through the script and writing? Do you have an idea of if you were to proceed with more seasons? Is there kind of an ending?
It was this thing has evolved over, I'd say, 8 years or so. From a movie that I wrote that was no mystery in there, nothing at all. 8 years ago, that wasn't bad, not a good script. But then eventually, after many failed attempts at trying to make it work, it became what it is now. And once I did that version, this was around 2019, yeah, and at the end of 2019. The whole thing was mapped out. This whole the 8-episode story, and the ending was ending hasn't changed really at all since then. So the roadmap was there, and obviously things change along the way, throughout the writing of it. But yeah, the ending's always been in place, and therefore, I mean, as for a future season, talk to Peacock. Yeah, see watch the show. If people watch it, they'll want a future season, and then I'll think of what that could be.
And going back to the time aspect of things, we do see a big shift in the storyline at the end of episode 4. So you have reality and a murder mystery going on, and then all of a sudden we do have something that leads you on that our characters are present in the past and might be present in the future. I know you can say a lot, but what is the expectation for future episodes? Are we going to see more of the hotel's history on the past? How do you feel that's going?
It continues to be unpredictable, I guess.
Because we got curious there,
Yeah, no, that's the hope. Is that it always been kind of designed as in that initial pitch, I say that this midpoint of the season, episode 4, I want to answer 95% of the questions that are asked from the first episode, and then it takes a major left turn, and then the back half of the season, it just goes into a different direction, and it's a different type of adventure movie. And I think that this is like kind of look at the one season almost like a trilogy of movies in a way. And the first movie would be 1 through 4, and Ben Sinclair directed all those. Then we have 5 and 6 are like different. There's a shift that happens, story and tonal. And that's Daniel Garcia and Rania Tias directed those ones. And then the last 2 episodes, it really just leans into the adventure side of things with Ariel Kleinman directed those. And so like you feel each kind of like stamp on them too. And there's like, I don't know, 3 different types of films in there. So.
Are we going to see something a little bit more related to sci-fi and
maybe
time to
maybe not though. We'll see.
All these teasers are so good. Go ahead.
Yeah, can we expect then like a Mr. Robot twist? Is this gonna like really just blindside us this left turn, or?
One of
just prepare for that. Like,
I think what I like is as an audience member is to like where I want to try to guess what's going to happen, and when I'm totally wrong, but like still satisfied. That's like there's nothing more satisfying as like a viewer or like an audience experience in that. And so we're just trying to do that. And so I as for being blindsided, if you are blindsided, then I hope it's a good kind of blindside than a bad blindside.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the casting process? So how did you get such great?
Yeah, we lucked out. I kind of talking to Kristen about this when we were filming the dinosaur sequence of Palm Springs, and I said that if someone ever lets me make this ridiculous show, I'll give you a call. And 3 years later, Peacock said, we want to make this ridiculous show, and so I called up Kristen, and she wanted to do it. Will was brought when I started working with Ben Sinclair, he was really involved in all the casting too, so he and I were talking who would be the great Noah. And Ben had worked with Will in the past on High Maintenance, and I'm a big fan of Will from Good Place. And then we just met with Will, and after that 2-hour meeting, I just immediately went back to the scripts and started writing it for him it's before he even agreed to do it, but he just he inspired me to dig deeper, which is just the best. It wasn't like necessarily like a traditional casting process and like a bunch of callbacks. It was more like Ben and I would meet and just talk for a while with these actors that we kind of just liked, we're just fans of, and that's how Skylar came on, and just the biggest, best directors want to work with Skylar, and it's not a surprise why. And we again, top to bottom, just. We lucked out that anyone would want to do this, and there's a specific story to everybody, but I feel the hovering of.
I know. Yeah. I know he wants us to wrap it up. So.
Yeah.
Are we wrapped?
Good.
Are we good? Yeah. Okay.
We're good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Andy.
so much.